All right, guys, so here I am back again, CWA Pro Tips. This time I have on a returning pro who is a free-to-play pro who was one of the original Pro Tips members on my channel. It's Fxde. We've been getting a lot of requests to get Fxde back in here, and here he is on voice. Fxde, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? This should be fun to share my deck, kind of tell you guys how to play it.
Yeah, I figured we could do, if it sounds good for you, Fxde, we could do like a more casual video, but we go like really advanced on this deck and talk about why it's a good free-to-play option. It should be kind of apparent, and we can talk about like advanced techniques and stuff like that as we go on through watching a few of your replays. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet. So before we get into the replays, we're looking at the deck right now. Can you tell us a little bit about, it's definitely not a meta deck per se. It has a Hog Rider, Goblin Barrel, 2 win conditions, and then it has both Goblins. Interesting deck. Tell us a little bit about how you created it and why you like it so much.
All right, so the way I created it was right when I first started, I was trying to figure out like a deck that would work out, just no matter like what kind of balance change they would make. So I created a mostly all common kind of deck with just like the Hog as a damage to produce damage, and it just helped me kind of upgrade it really fast. It's more of like a simple type of deck, but it works well together.
Yeah, and you have, 1 rare in the Hog, and you have 1 epic, and everything else is common. So I should go to your profile right now and take a look-see. You're level 11. Your cards aren't that bad levels for level 11, the ones that you do use in this deck, for example. So as a free-to-play player, how do you go about choosing a deck that works for you, either on ladder or, obviously there's probably a big difference on ladder versus tournament standards. You're pretty high in trophies right now at 4913 as a level 11. I can tell you that's very impressive for where we are in the season right now. So what is your philosophy when making a deck as somebody who doesn't necessarily have all their epic cards up to level?
Yeah, so basically my only level 6 epic is my Goblin Barrel, and I don't upgrade anything else. I just request basically whatever's in my ladder deck, and this everything else is like tournament standard. And ladder, it's more important to have higher cards than what kind of cards you have, because you're going to be competing against all max cards up at this trophy level. Grand Challenge is more of what kind of meta deck you can use.
Yeah, so do you use this deck in challenges as well, or is it just mostly your ladder deck?
I used to use it in challenges more, but now I kind of switched off and just use it for ladder.
Okay, so this is like a perfect deck. Basically, because everybody has these cards, this deck is actually viable, all the way down in lower arenas through mid-level arenas up until even legendary arena where you are. Is that correct?
Yeah, it works every, actually, a couple of the people in the Elite Nations clan use my deck, and they're kind of asking for tips with it, and they've kind of pushed high up in trophies because of it.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell us, we're going to hop into a replay in just a second here, but why don't you tell us just about the card selection here. So you have, obviously, the Hog and the Goblin Barrel. We're going to get more into it as we get into the replays, but why do you feel they work so well together?
The reason it works, it synergizes really well because it gives damage in different areas, so to speak. Like Spear Gobs give damage farther away, Stab Gobs go closer. Goblin Barrel goes to the air, so it's kind of hard to deal with.
Okay.
If the person doesn't have right placement of their spells.
Okay, great. So it really punishes people who don't use their spells correctly, or who don't know how to defend things coming in different radiuses and different directions with different ranges.
Yeah, and it's really fast-paced type of deck too, so they need to react really fast, or else they're going to get a lot of damage on their tower.
Yeah, it's not like it's a 2.5 average elixir cost deck or anything like that, but you look at it, and everything, even the minion horde at 5 elixir cost is a swarm unit, and you have to react fast, So,
yeah.
And you do have that proxy card, the Goblin Barrel, immediately at the opponent's tower. So you have a lot of options. In defense, you have a lot of options too. Let's hop into a match here, and I'm kind of just going to, pick your brain as we go through one of these replays here. Let's go ahead and start out with a Kimbo replay. Okay. And I'm going to press watch right now. I'm going to pause it at the very beginning until you catch up with me. And throughout these replays, maybe just give us a little play-by-play, a little bit what's going through your mind, and how maybe folks listening at home or wherever they are can maybe pick up a little advice or a tip or two to help translate into their game if they choose to pick up this deck.
Okay, do you want to start in 3, 2, 1, start.
Boom. Okay, we're on. So tell me about your starting hand. How do you feel about it?
Okay, so I have barbs, which is good for defense. So I'm just waiting on what type of card he plays. Usually I try to wait so I don't waste a card. And right off the bat, he plays Royal Giant, which is perfect. So I do barbs, Spear Gobs, which basically takes it out. And it goes for a push. And I add Goblin Barrel, kind of give like different damage areas. He deals with it pretty well with all air, basically. And
You have the arrows.
My hand doesn't have arrows yet, so I just cycle really fast and just arrow both of those.
Okay, tell me about the starting play of the game. Is there ever a time that you're going to throw the first Goblin Barrel or put in a Hog Rider right at the bridge, start things out, or are you always one to kind of react?
I usually like to wait, but some people are really stubborn, and I don't really want to wait for like a minute just to wait them play. So sometimes I'll just throw the Goblin Barrel or just Hog right away, just to start things going. And here's a good exchange where he had Princess only, and Princess has really small radius of attack, and I got a lot of damage because of the spread out units.
Yeah, that was good there as far as the Goblin Barrel timing. When do you not want to use a Goblin Barrel?
Usually that's the type of card that there's not really a bad time to use it. Because if anything, they're just going to counter it, but it doesn't really hurt to just toss one out.
Okay, yeah. So like when you don't have anything to play, or you're not sure what to play, or your opponent starts a big push, you can just hit it with the Goblin Barrel.
Yeah, you can just toss that. It won't do that much damage to you.
What is like your ultimate offensive combination with this deck?
It all depends on what the opponent plays, but most part it's either Barbs Hog or like Barbs or Hog and Minion Horde together. So the Hog just tanks for the rest of the units.
And obviously, your minions are your Minion Horde rather is a great defensive weapon, as are your barbarians. But I'd noticed that you do use the Minion Horde offensively sometimes too. Is that basically if you see your opponent is out of rotation with their arrows or zap or something, you're not afraid to use them? Is that pretty much what you're doing there?
Yeah, and I always try to play. Once I know the type of deck the opponent has, I like to play aggressive. So they have to focus on defending and not focus on pushing the other lane.
Yeah, it's funny. This guy's barely ever played his Royal Giant after that first push. Maybe once after that because
and right now it's too late anyway.
Yeah, so this deck is an aggressive deck. That's the best way to play it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's more of a passive aggressive deck. Once you know the type of deck the other person has, you can play aggressive or you can play defense.
Okay,
so
give me an example. Give me an example of a deck that you would go against where you'd want to play defense more than being super aggressive. Is like a certain archetype, or does it depend a lot on what the opponent's doing?
It depends on the opponent's playstyle and mostly Executioner too. I don't want to throw Minion Horde and they throw Executioner out. Then I'm basically have no elixir to defend.
I'm going to put on the replay by KG here next, by the way. I'm going to pause it at the beginning. And yeah, during this match specifically, I kind of want to get into, if you could, just kind of give a play-by-play on where your mind is at while the match is going on.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Do you want to start in 2, 1, go?
So a much different starting hand here.
Yeah. I'm just testing out to see what he plays first. I usually just play Goblins off the bat because they're just 2 elixir anyway.
Mm-hmm. Will you play Spirit Goblins, or does it not matter?
It doesn't really matter.
Will you ever play them at the bridge?
No, I won't. That's kind of too aggressive for starting.
Okay.
Yeah. And here he played Barb Hut, so I tried to force him to switch lanes.
Okay.
And he's more of a defensive type of deck because of his Barb Hut. And here I add Hog too, because I want to tank for my Minion Horde. And
nice.
My arrow.
And then the arrow, that's a nice arrow there.
Yeah. And it takes out the Barb Hut, which is the most important thing.
Barb Hut, Minion Horde, all down, and a little damage to the tower there. So now that you know what he's playing, well, you haven't seen the graveyard yet, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I haven't.
So now that you know kind of what he's playing, are you starting to adjust what your ideal offensive push would be?
Yeah, so I know he has Barb Hut, so I'm not going to throw Hog right away. I'm trying to just feel out what his last card is. I kind of figured it was Graveyard because of the Barb Hut, but I'm just seeing people run different decks on ladder. And here I kind of do a mixed deck because most of his defense is ground. And I zap, and it basically takes out everything.
Nice, yeah. You get a lot of value there again on that minion push there. And it seems to be a weak spot in his deck that he doesn't have. But he has Minion Horde as well, which is great. He has Archers, but it doesn't seem like, unless I missed it, he has a good direct damage option for Minion Horde.
Yeah, most of his deck is ground too.
Yeah. So when you talk about your philosophy against a deck that has a lot of buildings, right, and you're a Hog player, do you kind of put the Hog on the back burner, or you try to use him just to chip away at the Barbarian Hut? Or are you concentrating more on the Goblin Barrel in cases like this, or how are you doing it?
I usually never throw a Hog directly at a Barb Hut because that's really bad. The Barb Hut's too tanky.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually try to do a pig push to just avoid it. And here he freezes.
Will you switch lanes ever?
Yeah. It depends on if he has a defense. I would pig push the other lane. Try to force him to play like in different lanes. And he played
caught
the
him there.
Barb Hut
You caught him just in time on that Barb Hut. Nice.
Because I knew he didn't have enough elixir to play the Barb Hut yet.
Very nice, and that's it, man. He's barely touched your towers, not too badly at least. That one freeze graveyard combo. But the thing about this deck that you have is there's actually a pretty decent amount of meta counters in it. Do you struggle against Executioner right now, or can you handle it as long as you try to rely on the Hog or try to avoid the Executioner?
Usually I try to my barbs are really good for defending against Executioner. I just place them surrounded, and it kind of deals with it. But if a person plays, like let's say Giant and Executioner behind, I just wait for the Giant to get past, and I play the barbs on the Executioner.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So I just ignore the tank in front and destroy like the units behind, and then take out the tank.
Yeah. Smart. That's smart thinking. Let's go to Miguel, because I noticed that you put that you're playing against the Executioner deck, so maybe we can see this in action here.
Yeah, okay.
And while we start playing this, if you're ready, let me know if you're ready.
Yeah, okay, let's 3, 2, 1, go.
Sweet. Okay, so while we're playing this, and when we see how you handle the Executioner tanky deck, Giant, Elite Barbarians as well, I'm curious to know how you any general advice to free-to-play players, like somebody who wants to get to level 11 like you. I mean, how are you doing it? What are you doing? Are you just opening your crown chest every day? Are you specifically trying to target certain cards to upgrade them? Do you have any tips in upgrading, or in how to get the best value out of the little gems that you do get as a free-to-play player?
Yeah, so basically what I do is I have a more common dominated deck to where I can request 40 every request, so I get around 120 of a common a day, which really helps upgrading. And I also try to get my crown chest every day, just to play enough to where I can get it. It's just basically free cards whenever I can get it. I usually do that, and I usually do grand challenges whenever I have gems.
Yeah, I noticed you had a decent amount for a free-to-play player of cards won, I think like 40,000 or something. So yeah, definitely the way to go. Do you usually do well in the grand challenges? Like how many wins do you average, would you say?
Average about like 9 or 10.
Nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't play grand challenges if you don't average a higher amount, because then it's kind of a waste amount of gems.
Yeah.
But it's really good value if you average a higher amount.
Absolutely. It's funny, I was trying grand challenges the other day with a variety of different meta decks, and man, I was killing it with some, and then absolutely just like I had a 1-win grand win challenge. It was pathetic. But I also had a 12 and a 10 and an 8 or something. But man, you know what it is, man? Is I suck at zap bait. I don't know. You're pretty good at zap bait, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of your bread and butter. This is kind of what this is, kind of.
If you play deck a lot, then you're gonna know how to counter it pretty well too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, man, but it's just definitely my Achilles heel in terms of Clash Royale archetypes, you know. But hey, that's another story for another day, I guess. But you totally dominated this match. What do you deal when you go, how do you deal when you go up against somebody who's like a really good, skilled tornado player, like always just activating their king tower on your first hog push? I mean, you're almost playing at a deficit from there, and then with the goblin barrel, you're going to be having 2 towers targeted.
Yeah, so whenever they use the tornado to drag my hog in, I usually try to either, like, if God Barrel, I usually put it on the closest part to the tower to where it's harder for the king tower to hit, like the corner left side in the front. Mm-hmm. And I usually just keep on playing normally.
Okay, so like the corner furthest away from the king tower.
Yeah, so where a couple of the gobs won't even get hit by the king tower.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And a lot of my damage, it comes so fast to where the king tower doesn't even really matter.
That's true. That's true. You are a super aggressive deck. What about predicting with the arrows and the zap? Do you find yourselves, especially towards the end of the match when you know what your opponent's playing, do you find yourself using a lot of predictive plays with this deck, or are you more cautious?
Depends if that one prediction will lose me the game or not.
Okay, so you kind of weigh the risk.
I won't even predict because there's no point. But if
Yeah,
I'm desperate, then I'll do that.
Okay, so you're not an over predictor. You're not doing it all the time.
No.
Okay. Well, any final parting words to the folks out there? Any other tips or any shout outs or anything like that, Fade?
One important thing is that you don't really need to spend that much money on this game to really get high in trophies. I've only spent like $20 on this game on that one holiday pack. And I usually just wait on grand challenges.
Crap, I can't call you free to play now, Fade. Damn it.
That's my secret.
Oh my god. All right. No, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so usually just be smart about your gems and requests, and you can push pretty high. That's pretty much it.
Nice, man. Any shout outs?
Shout out to Elite Gaming. Shout out to Elite Nation.
Nice, man. Love having you, dude, and love having you on the channel too. It's awesome to actually hear your voice and actually ask you these questions in the, well, I was gonna say in the flesh, but I guess, you know, on the phone versus in text.
Virtual flesh.
Absolutely. So, dude, it's been great. Where can people find you? So give me some social media info.
My Twitter is at ItsFxde, just basically my gamer tag.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. And as always, take care, guys.